Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Q&A with the St. Louis Arc. It is about capable kids and families, commonly known as CKF. I am Sandy Irwin. I am the Director of Family Supports here at St. Louis Arc.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Q&A for Capable Kids and Families. My name is AJ Johnson, and I am the Assistant Director. I have been with St. Louis Arc for a little bit over 2 years. And in my role, I basically like oversee the program and just making sure that we are aligned with the guidelines, making sure that all the families feel supported, getting all the equipment requests and anything that may come across my desk to make sure that the program continues to run smooth and the parents and our community partners have what they need.
She is their fearless leader. That's how I would describe AJ. All right, AJ. So we're going to start with the basics of CKF, Capable Kids
Okay.
and Families. Okay, so
Okay.
what does a family need to qualify for the CKF program?
The requirements for being qualified for the Capable Kids and Families, CKF, you will hear me say CKF a lot, program is you just need to reside in St. Louis City, reside in St. Louis County, your child birth to 7 years old, experience some type of developmental delay in such motor, language, sensory, or cognitive development. Also, I want you to know that a child does not need a formal diagnosis in order to qualify for the program, such as if a child is born early, you know it's going to be some type of developmental delay, and somewhere in the medical paperwork, it will state that the child is experiencing, could be as simple as finding gross motor skills. That child then qualifies for the program. Also, and the best thing about the program is there is no minimum or maximum income requirement.
We were talking a little bit earlier about how we haven't really done a Q&A about
Mhm.
CKF because it's a very popular, very popular and sought after program. And so what that means is that there is a wait list or a waiting pool, as it
Mhm.
were.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
can you tell me a little bit about the wait list, what happens next if you're taken off the wait list, things like that?
Definitely. Actually, I like that word waiting pool because
Mm-hmm.
now, see, the wait list when I first started, it was very long, but the waiting pool now is about 30. And I tried my best to get everyone assigned a family resource specialist within 60 days. I'm very honest where they are. And if I'm not able to meet that 60 days, I'm definitely going to call the caregiver to let them know when to be expecting a call from the program coordinator, Dominica Miramonte, on being pulled off the wait list. So once a child name comes up on the wait list, the first thing they will do is receive a phone call from the program coordinator. The program coordinator from there would just reconfirm their interest in the program, just making sure they still have the time and the commitment that's needed to make the home visits because them are a strong requirement for the program. Once the interests have been verified, they are assigned a family resource specialist. From there, the family resource specialist actually will reach out to them, introduce themselves, and they will schedule an intake. And the intake is done either virtual or it can be done in person. We leave that kind of like up to the caregiver, and it takes about an hour. During the intake process, we are going over, we're just gathering like the normal data information that's needed. That it's the standard stuff that you get from the doctor's office, from the school office. And then also, then we do a deeper dive and we start talking about what the caregiver goals are. What do they want to see happen in the program when it comes to their child? We talk about any IEPs, what type of resources they may need, what have they done, how much do they actually know about the diagnosis that their child received. And then also we go more in depth talking about any difficult with medical navigations and just going into more conversation on how to support the family overall, because by the child being in the program through 7 years old, if a child come in at 2 years old and they decide to stay all the way to the end, that's going to be a 5-year relationship. So therefore, the intake is very, it's not, I don't want to use the word intense, but it's
Mhm.
very informative.
Mhm.
And that is needed in order for us to start setting up equipment ideas and other resources that we may need to support the child and also the parents.
You mentioned the equipment um,
Mhm.
several times, and I think that really the equipment is one of the ways that we get in the door for these families. That's so much more than that. We know that, but can you tell us a little bit more about the equipment lending program that we can see on the website? How do families go about using it, or others go about using it?
The way to access the equipment is to be a part of the program. Once you are part of the program, we do have a specified equipment that requires a doctor's prescription, such as a weighted vest or a weighted blanket. The reason why is because we cannot put a 45-pound blanket on a child that only weighs 25 pounds. That's going to cause a lot of respiratory issues, problems, and just unspeakable liability. So that's why we need the prescription from the doctor, not the therapist or someone who's given therapy, but an actual doctor prescription stating what type of vest and the weight of the vest, so we can align the weight with the child and the weight of the vest to make sure that it is a success.
Mhm.
So getting access to the equipment is very simple. Join the program.
We say equipment, and people might be wondering, what does equipment mean? You've mentioned things like weighted vests, weighted blankets, things like that, but give us some, if you don't mind, give us some more examples of what types of items are in our equipment closet, types of things that families may be able to access.
We have sensory tables, like 3-part sensory tables. And when I'm ordering equipment, I'm very mindful because everyone does not have a house. So I'm very mindful of the size. I don't want to take up a lot. So the sensory tables I did order, the containers are collapsible, along with they cover up and the legs come up, whereas they can break down and go up under the couch, up under the bed, or just away in the corner. We have finding gross motor skills. So simple things as magnetic tiles, but we use magnetic tiles in a different way. We use them for eye and hand coordination. We can use them for counting. We can use them for a color. We can use them for building. We can use them for conversation starters. We also have trampolines. That's good for balancing. Kids love to do that. We ask them questions and they just bouncing away, bouncing away, bouncing away. It's very good for kids who are sensory, high energy. It's very good for that. And then we also have what's called our tripods. That's another sensory, but it hangs from the like the ceiling, and they get in there. It makes them feel really, really smooth, comfortable, and safe. And also, it can be used as a calm down. For our growth motor skills, we have our balance bikes. Kids love the balance bikes. We have the tricycles. So the balance bikes can turn into a tricycle, and then also it can be a uniline. So it just depends on where the child is at that time. Now, when we talk about sensory, we have things from anywhere from a Bluey microphone all the way down to our busy book. So our busy book can have anywhere from 3 pages to 6 pages. And you have your zippers, you have different textures, you have different sounds. And I have someone, the mother said he plays with that book all day, every day. And I'm very I pay attention because I'm also a parent, I'm also a grandparent. Everything we give them, they can take with them to the store. We have what's called our talking buddies. So that's for those who are nonverbal. It has a simple button. I'm hungry. I need to use the bathroom. I need to go to the bathroom. Very simple things, but it's also such an empowering tool that it can bridge that communication gap within the household. Then we have my favorite, adaptable toys.
Yes.
So those who have limited mobility, limited sensory, push the push that adaptive little switch button, and they have access to work that toy or that developmental piece of equipment. So we have over 1,800 pieces. The best thing about our equipment lending program is when PT, OT, and speech come to your house, they bring all these beautiful toys and they say, oh, get it, get it, get it, get it, get it. Yeah, easier said than done. But come to the program, we can lend it to you
Mhm.
free
Right.
of charge.
Thank you. I'm so glad that you shared all of that. I love that you mentioned the switch toys, things like that, because of course a child is going to see something and maybe want it to light up or do what it's supposed to do.
Mhm.
But yeah, you're right. Maybe they don't have the direct ability to use it how it's designed, but if we just add that switch button or whatever, and then it does what they want it to do, and it is so empowering. So you mentioned a little bit in this last kind of conversation we were having about the home visit. So can you kind of, I know this might be hard because every home visit's going to look different. We know
Yeah.
this as providers, but can you walk us through kind of what a home visit would look like, how often that would usually happen, something like that. Again, we
Okay.
know it's not always going to be real, the same or black and white like that, but whatever you can
Yep.
share about a home visit.
Home visits are a required part of the program because, this is a volunteer program. So during the home visit, like you said, each home visit may look different because supports are different for each family. So you will get the basic. So let me just lay out the basic. The home visit normally happens once a month. During the home visit, new equipment will be brought to you, and then we will bring back some of the equipment that was lent to you. We want that feedback to see exactly how did this go with like their goals. Did they respond to this? Do you want more of this? Do you want less of this? Also, when we are bringing equipment into the household, we want to make sure that we're also teaching the siblings how to work with the equipment because we want them to respect the equipment. We want them to engage with the equipment so that child can continue to reach and meet the benchmark goals. And also on the long end, it helped them take care of the equipment so it can continue to be used over and over again. Also, when it's something new or could be complicated or whatever, our family resource specialist always would demonstrate not to the caregivers also on how to do it, the best way to keep it. A lot of equipment we do have batteries. So we do make sure that we switch out the batteries and they will get new batteries to last for the time that needs to be used for by that parent by the child. Also during the visit, they get community resources.
Mhm.
Sometimes they may not even need the resources, but because they live in a particular zip code, we always just want to share and say, hey, this may not benefit you, but your neighbor, someone at your um, on your block, at your church, in your community. We always want to let them know what's going on in your community so that you can take advantage of all of these resources. And then also sometimes we set up peer supports. So sometimes if a parent has a brand new diagnosis and really don't know, we may have a veteran who have navigated all of that. And we were offering, do you want to meet someone that can kind of help navigate you and become a mentor? They will say, absolutely. Like, yes, 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 yes. And what we end up doing is we end up connecting them so they can have that peer support so they won't feel alone all the time. And then also we talk about upcoming events. And then we just answer like simple questions. Sometimes it's more in a personal, more business sometimes because if they need support with trying to figure out how to fill out Social Security paperwork, preparing for the IEP that's coming up. So it just depends. No two home visits are the same
Right.
for each family for
Mhm.
each month. So it just depends on what's needed. Either way it go, the staff is more than capable of supporting.
I want to touch on a few things that you mentioned. One of the things, again, is that it is different, but it's unique. It's something that, again, the family resource specialist can go in and really um, make it geared towards what the family needs in that moment.
Right.
The other
Yes.
thing that you mentioned was the peer support. So what I have noticed in my short time of being here at the ARC and being involved with CKF, the participants that you have, the children that you have in the program, many of them have some very rare and unique disabilities,
Hmm.
medical diagnoses, things like that. And I think that out of many of the programs here at the ARC, CKF probably has some of the most of those. And so I think that your department is set up really well for something like that, that peer support that you mentioned, because you may have one of uh, one of the only children in the whole agency that might have this rare, disorder. And then all of a sudden, a few months later, here comes another young child, and the opportunity to connect parents who
It's so
who
vital. It's
who
so
have not
important.
who may have ever interacted because their children will be in different school districts or they won't live in the same community or whatever. And what a beautiful thing for you to be able to and your team to be able to facilitate a relationship between a family like that because of something that they're both living. So I really do. I love that.
Yes.
That's part
Yes.
of what you all do. I think
It's
that's
a big success. It is great. And like how you just talked about the rare
mm-hmm.
diagnosis,
Very.
sometimes we are finding out with them. So when they tell us about it, sometimes we do an impromptu meeting, and it's all hands on because we don't know it all, but I guarantee we're going to support you. We're going to
Yeah.
get you all what you need. We're going to make a lot of phone calls to get as much information as possible. And the parents know, they feel the support. And when it's rare, it's just a learning opportunity for us to become stronger in what we do. So we don't run away from it.
Yeah.
We show up. We
Oh,
show up
yeah.
and show out. Yes, we show
Yeah.
up.
You've kind of touched on a lot of things that we were going to ask with the next question, which is, what kinds of supports and services can families count on through the program? Again,
Okay.
you touched on a lot of that. I'm thinking of other types of more maybe tangible resources that are outside of things like, and this goes also to our next question, which is our connections with other organizations
Hmm.
in the community to support families. So I'm thinking about other partnerships that we may have or that CKF may have in order to support families to get them either resources that they need, go to events. Yeah, I don't know, lots of different things. I mean, you can kind
Yes.
of pair those two
Um,
together if you want, or just however
okay.
you want to share.
The range of supports that we do offer, one of them is definitely IEP advocacy.
Hmm.
When we know that we are going into an IEP, we have a packet that we give the parents. And sometimes the parents can fill out by themselves, sometimes they want us there with them. And this is an opportunity for them to get a chance to talk about what they've been seeing with their kid and their strengths, their weaknesses. They will get a chance to talk about goals they want to see the child meet. And we sit down, we strategize, we go over it with them. And then if they do need our support at the IEP meeting, we actually go. We listen, we advocate. If we feel that parent is not being heard or misunderstood, we step in to say, hey, this is what she's saying. This is what's going on. And also we want to educate. Me as a person who was in the classroom, wrote many IEPs. During that process, I also like to tell the parents, an IEP should not be written prior to going into the class and prior to the meeting. You can have a outline,
Sure.
but the goals should be written with the parent. That's why you have the 10 days to get back to them. because it's something, it's a open document for a lot of communication so that you can agree on what the goals and the wording should say and what it should be like. So IEP, some parents don't know how, they don't know where to begin, especially if a parent have three kids that are fine, and then you have a child that, oh, all of a sudden have an autism diagnosis. They don't know where to begin. This is what we are here for. We want to model how to advocate, teach you how to advocate for your child. Because when you come in, we want you to be twice as strong when you leave the program. So therefore, we're going to model what the relationships should look like. We're going to model what the conversation should look like. We're going to, some parents, they say, can you write down like a template? We give them templates on when you call in the doctor so you won't get tongue tied. Because sometimes you don't know what to say or where to begin. And that's fine. We are here to make sure that we support and empower you in the way that you need for your child, not only for now, but in the future as it continues to go. Because when you get an IEP, you're going to have to keep going, 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 going. So we help them schedule doctor's appointments. Sometime of if a child need a haircut, we have partners with barbers who, guess what? They have special sensory haircut devices. They have all these fancy tricks. Another partner and collaboration we have is the Magic House. Guess what? It's closed to the public. They get 2 hours. We feed them. They get 2 hours of unlimited play, and everyone in there, they don't have to feel bad if their child having a meltdown. Because guess what? A parent is going to come in and support. You say, "Let me show you what I do." Hazelwood School District, their early childhood. We have a collaboration with them. We have a collaboration with the Rittner Early Childhood. I do get a chance to meet each month up to 12 new resources in the community. And it could be a grassroots program or it can be a program that's already established, but they're introducing something with the organization, which is called the Bright Futures Committee, which Hazelwood School District asked me to be a part of. And I happily accepted because my families need all these resources. And plus, I want to know what's going on. Lately, I have been visiting, doing presentations for doctors, trying to get that collaboration partnership. I have a speaking engagement coming up with Cardinal Glennon to try to get into their neonatal. I'm waiting to hear back from Rankin for partnership. So we also have a collaboration which is with the St. Louis University Therapy, whereas they bring in adaptive switch toys for our parents. So we have, oh my God, I know I'm leaving so many things out, but I'm trying to get the word back out there about CKM.
So just as we're kind of wrapping up, just to remind all of the caregivers, parents, grandparents, whoever might be listening to all the wonderful information and things that AJ has shared. If somebody wants to inquire about CKF, Capable Kids and Families, where do you recommend that they go to find out?
They can call 314-569-2211. They can go on the website and actually complete the inquiry form and just fill it out. It's very simple, few questions, and it comes right over to us,
Right.
and someone will actually follow back up to them. Always give us 24 hours, meaning 24 hours of a business workday.
Right,
Now, if you
right,
do it on a Friday, we're not calling to Monday, but
right.
normally give us 24 hours only because we do have a lot of families that are in our program that are high need. With Medicaid being cut, that's a big challenge. Service hours not being met. So we are hands on with our families, regardless if they are assigned to that family resource specialist or not. We do want to make sure that everyone still feels supported. And so just give us 24 hours to get back with you.
Thank you, AJ, so much for sharing all the wonderful information. It is one of our most sought after programs, and it is just it's such a wonderful program to be able to see continue to grow and grow and grow over the last few years.